Hello and welcome to another episode of Do You Remembaer? This is an ongoing video series where every week I read an article on the internet, often Wikipedia, and I try to remember everything I can from that article and then relay the information to you in hopefully an entertaining and educational manner. And we are talking about a phenomenon. I don't have a photo. Usually I have a photo go along with it. I don't have anything for this because I decided not to look up this particular person's photo. It actually was difficult to do, and I found one, but it was very grainy of her on a news appearance. But we're going to talk about, and I'll say it in Japanese and then in English, the Aoki Mariko Gensho, or the Aoki Phenomenon. The Aoki Phenomenon is, it's not like, it's a hypothesis. It's this thought process, I guess we should say. Phenomenon is basically used because in the 80s, Japan started putting phenomenon in the end of things. But basically, it all started with Mariko, who wrote to a magazine in Japan for people that were reading books. Literally translates to book magazine. This is a magazine about, books and whatever, and the culture of it. And she basically just wrote an essay for it, just being like, hey, here's a thing that happens to me. I go to bookstores, and if I'm there for a while, suddenly I have to use the restroom. And that's weird, right? Because I didn't before I got in there, and suddenly I got to go use the restroom. Weird. And it's a short little essay, and they ran it because they thought it was kind of funny and interesting that a young person would write in and be, kind of plain and honest about defecation. And they had to write more about it in the next issue of Book Magazine because people were like, me too. Like a lot of people were like, yeah. And, people of all genders were just like, yeah, this is me. I do this. And there's certain hypotheses of like what's going on here. In some instances, it is perceived to be that is the smell of books or the smell of the printed ink. Other people just say it's probably just wandering around like a large bookstore is where it's going to happen. So it might just be like walking the aisles and like squinting to read, from a distance, and maybe like that feeling some people have of like, oh, should I get this? This is like, a purchase paralysis. That might lead something to it, where it might not happen at a library or like an archive, but it would happen at a bookstore because there's that purchase element to it. But it might just be the pacing. And some people have reported that when they leave a venue, they suddenly don't have to. And that just might be a change of posture, a change in your walking speed, or whatever. It could be tied to nerves, because some people also have that as a nervous tic. There's not been enough study about it. There's been very little study about it. But, especially in the 90s, people kept coming back to it, and it's only been in two issues of Book Magazine, but they still get referenced quite a lot. And in fact, she's been on news shows. Mariko has where they've invited her to come on and talk about it, and like news programs and like morning shows. She's like, yeah, I don't mind too much that this is what my name is associated with. It's fine. There hasn't been a lot of scientific study, and in fact, like looking at this Wikipedia article, it's just like, we don't know. But they're like, people have theories, but nobody really quite knows. But this might be something. I will say this. This does not affect me. I do not suddenly have to use the facilities at a Barnes and Noble. I guess if I like ate a bunch of food in the little food cafe, then I maybe. But like, no, it doesn't trigger anything with me. But it might with you, because I found out about this Wikipedia page thanks to a TikTok from Adam Conover, and I will link that TikTok in the show description of this video so you can go check a look at it. But I saw it and I was just like, no, that's not me. But a lot of people are like, yes, this is me. Like, he tweeted about it, and people were just like, there's a name for this. And I think that's really cool and very important that we can identify that, right? Like, this became a thing, not just because a young person, I say young person, I remember that to a young person. It's totally possible that I have made that part up and that she was not young. But anyway, somebody wrote in to a magazine, and that was enough for other people who were reading this magazine about books and booksellers and all that to be like, yes. And being seen, being like the thing where people are like, it's not just me, is very important, even if it is about having to go take a dump at a bookstore. Anyway, we've had a couple short ones here. Look, it's mostly just like, yeah, this time this magazine talked about it, and of course in the 2000s it became known in the internet because more people were on the internet and finding out information about this thing, and it goes through phases every few years where people are like, hey, did you know this thing is a thing? Because that just happens, obviously. So anyway, that was this Do You Remembaer. Let me know in the comments. Is this something where you're just like, do you see yourself in this? Is this behavior that you also have experienced? That you're like, yes, that's the thing. Or if you're just like, no, I don't know what you're talking about, let me know. Or if there's something like online, maybe it's a Wikipedia article, maybe it's another website out there. I should do more. I keep saying that, and someday I will, where you're like, this, yeah, Pat, you should read this thing and talk about it. Let me know. And if there's something I missed, feel free to tell me as well. I'd love to hear from you. Give this video a like, share it with a friend. I don't know, do the things, like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.